The third worst nuclear accident in human history is named after a town that had nothing to do with it. 1957, a tank of radioactive waste explodes in the Ural Mountains, level 6 on the international scale, beaten only by Chernobyl and Fukushima. Today, it sits in every textbook under one name, the Kishtim disaster. Kishtim is a small town 15 kilometers away. No connection to the plant, no connection to the explosion. It got the name for one reason. The place where the explosion actually happened did not exist. No name, no address, not on a single map of the Soviet Union. And the children born there grew up holding passports that named a city they had never lived in. In August 1945, the entire Soviet atomic project was handed to one man, Lavrenti Beria, head of the NKVD, the secret police. To build the bomb, they needed plutonium. To make plutonium, they built a reactor complex near a town called Kishtim. And a reactor complex is not just a factory. It needs thousands of people, physicists, engineers, welders, guards, living beside it, permanently for decades. Those people have families. The families need schools, shops, a hospital, a bus network. You do not get a secret factory. You get a secret factory with a town of tens of thousands bolted onto its side. A factory you can hide behind a fence.
A town with a railway line, food deliveries, and mail arriving every single day. You cannot, unless you delete it from the record. So how do you erase a town? The Soviet answer was bureaucratic, and once you see it, almost elegant. You do not give it a name, you give it a post office box. The town takes the name of the nearest real city plus digits from a postal code. The town beside the plant became Chelyabinsk 40, then Chelyabinsk 65. Chelyabinsk itself is about 80 kilometers away. Then you fix the paperwork at source. Every birth certificate, every passport, every school record names the decoy city instead. Mail goes to a box number and finishes the journey inside the system. Bus stops near the town are not named after the town. They are called something like Kilometer 47, a number on a road. And here, the system starts to look absurd. The rule said use the nearest large city, but nearest was doing a lot of work. Sarov, the lab where the first Soviet bomb was actually designed, was called Arzamas 16. Arzamas 16 is not in Arzamas. It is 75 kilometers from Arzamas. Anyone who drove to Arzamas looking for it would have found an ordinary provincial town and no bomb laboratory anywhere in it. The most secret facility in the Soviet nuclear program held an address that pointed nowhere near it. And the secret held partly through armed guards and partly because the address was, geographically speaking, nonsense. Now, what did all of this look like from inside to someone who did not know they were inside anything? Start with the paradox. The town nobody was allowed to name was one of the better places to live in the whole Soviet Union, supplied ahead of everywhere else, higher salaries, better housing, better schools. Moscow paid for it directly because Moscow needed the people inside to stay. And there was a fence. On the 2nd of September 1988, Izvestia published an interview with Viktor Yashchenko, head of the state body that made every map in the Soviet Union, and he admitted that almost all of them were fake, not inaccurate, not out of date, deliberately falsified by order of the security organs for 50 years. Cities moved from where they stood, rivers shifted by kilometers, roads leading nowhere. His own words, the distortion was severe enough that people could not recognize their own homeland on a map of it. It began under Stalin when map-making was placed under the NKVD, the same organization that would receive the atomic program 6 years later.
The same reflex applied to two problems. By the 1970s, it was pointless and everyone knew it. American satellites were photographing Soviet territory from orbit. The Pentagon had better maps of the USSR than Soviet farmers did. The only people the lies still worked on were Soviet citizens. Once you were willing to move a river to protect a secret, moving an entire town off the page is not a larger step. It is the same step. Which brings us back to the tank of waste beside the reactor, the 29th of September, 1957. At the Mayak plant beside the town with no name, a cooling system fails on a tank of liquid radioactive waste.
The tank explodes. The blast throws a concrete lid weighing hundreds of tons into the air. A column of radioactive dust rises over the Urals and drifts northeast, over villages, farmland, and the people living in all of it. Third worst nuclear accident in human history. Almost nobody heard about it for 30 years. And now, the detail that locks the whole story together. The accident needed a name. Every disaster gets one, from the place where it happened. But the place where it happened did not exist. Chelyabinsk 65 was not on any map, could not be printed, could not be said out loud beyond the fence. So, they named it after Kishtim, a real town 15 kilometers away, with nothing to do with any of it. To this day, in every textbook, in every language, the third worst nuclear accident in history is called the Kishtim disaster, named after a bystander because the real location was a state secret. There was a bargain, even if nobody wrote it down. You get the supply, the salary, the apartment, the safe streets. In exchange, you give up the right to move, the right to say where you live, and the right to know what the plant next door is doing to you. It ended with a newspaper. 1988, Yashchenko's confession. 1989, honest maps go on sale, and the Kishtim accident is finally acknowledged. 1991, the Soviet Union stops existing. And in January 1994, Chelyabinsk 65 is given a real name, Ozyorsk, and placed on the public maps of Russia. America built the same kind of place, Oak Ridge, Tennessee, 75,000 people, also absent from every map. It opened its gates in 1949 with a parade. The Soviet twin appeared on the map 45 years later. The fence stayed. Ozyorsk is a closed city today. You still need permission to enter. Russia still has 44 acknowledged closed cities and roughly 15 more that have never been named. The difference between those two countries was never about who could build the bomb. Both could. It was about how long a state is willing to tell its own citizens that the ground beneath their feet is somewhere else. For millions of people, the answer was their entire lives. And when honest maps were finally printed, they could simply walk into an ordinary shop, open one, and for the very first time, put a finger on the place where they had lived all along.